The Galactic Council's holographic message shimmered in the center of the Terran Union's orbital command room. The words were formal, diplomatic, and dripping with condescension. To the representatives of the Terran Union, the Galactic Council formally invites you to participate in the annual Galactic War Games. Your performance will determine your standing within the Council and the resources allocated to your planet. Best of luck, though we anticipate modest results from a newcomer. Commander Natalie Drake let the message play to the end, then dismissed it with a wave of her hand. Around her, the room buzzed with murmurs of irritation and stifled laughter. The Council's disdain wasn't exactly surprising. Humanity's entry into galactic politics had been met with skepticism from day one. Captain Selena Cross, leaning against the wall with a confident smirk, was the first to speak. Modest results. They expect us to roll over and play dead. Adrian Voss, the team's tech specialist, adjusted his glasses. They think our fleet's outdated, and to be fair, compared to their shiny plasma cannons and quantum shields, we are. They're underestimating us, Natalie said, her tone calm but firm. Let's use that. She turned to Adrian. How fast can you retrofit our drones for decoy operations? Adrian's eyes gleamed. Give me 48 hours. Natalie smiled. Perfect. If they think we're predictable, let's show them how wrong they are. The Oris Nebula was a sight to behold. Swirling clouds of green and blue gas stretched across the vast expanse, illuminated by bursts of distant starlight. It was the perfect setting for the Galactic War Games, beautiful, treacherous, and filled with deadly gravitational anomalies. The Terran fleet, led by the Resolute, entered the nebula with little fanfare. Their ships were smaller and less imposing than those of the other competitors, their designs focused on efficiency rather than intimidation. Inside the Resolute's bridge, Natalie stood at the center console, observing the holographic tactical map. Around her, the crew worked with quiet precision. We've got eyes on us, Adrian reported, his fingers flying over his console. The Zarthi, the Krithak, even the Fithari are scanning us like we're some kind of novelty. They think we're a joke, Selena said, her tone laced with amusement. Let's make them laugh while we steal the spotlight. Natalie's lips twitched into a faint smile. Let them watch. The more they underestimate us, the better. On the Galactic Council's observation deck, towering above the battlefield, Ambassador Zarth of the crystalline Zarthi Empire sneered as he watched the Terran fleet maneuver. What primitive toys they've brought to the battlefield. This will be over quickly. The Krithak ambassador, a gelatinous being with shifting hues, rippled in agreement. They'll make for an entertaining warm-up at least. The first stage of the games began with a fleet skirmish, a test of strategic positioning and firepower. The battlefield was a dense asteroid field riddled with gravitational anomalies that made navigation a deadly challenge. Most competitors deployed massive ships bristling with weaponry, their shields glowing as they powered into the field. The Zarthi fleet, led by their flagship Starbreaker, moved with mechanical precision, plasma cannons at the ready. In contrast, the Terran fleet split into smaller formations, their movements erratic and seemingly uncoordinated. Scatter the fleet, Natalie ordered. Let them think we're disorganized. As the Zarthi ships closed in, firing plasma beams that lit up the darkness, the Terran fleet appeared to crumble, until the Zarthi realized their weapons were hitting nothing but holographic decoys. What is this trickery? Ambassador Zarth hissed from the observation deck. Inside the Resolute, Natalie gave a quiet command. Deploy the drones. From hidden compartments within the asteroid field, small cloaked drones emerged, planting explosive charges on the undersides of Zarthi ships. Moments later, explosions rippled across their fleet, disabling half their forces in an instant. On the observation deck, gasps echoed. They're exploiting the terrain, a Fithari delegate murmured. They're cheating, Zarth growled. They're winning, Selena said with a grin, watching the chaos unfold on the Resolute's tactical display. As the Zarthi retreated, the Krithak moved in. Known for their rigid formations and overwhelming firepower, the gelatinous warriors approached in a crescent formation, their weapons charged. They're moving to flank us, Adrian said, his voice tense. Natalie nodded. Good. Spring the trap. The Terran fleet lured the Krithak deeper into the asteroid field, where gravitational anomalies pulled at their ships. At Natalie's command, tractor beams nudged a cluster of asteroids into their path. The Krithak, unable to break formation quickly enough, collided with the debris. The Resolute fired a precision railgun volley, targeting the weakened ships. One by one, the Krithak vessels were disabled, their gelatinous crews forced to abandon the skirmish. By the end of the first stage, the Terran fleet had emerged as the unlikely victor, suffering minimal damage while crippling two of the most advanced fleets in the games. On the observation deck, alien delegates were abuzz with disbelief. They've turned these games into a mockery, Zarth declared. This is not strategy, it's opportunism. Opportunism is a strategy, a Fithari delegate replied thoughtfully. Inside the Resolute, the mood was celebratory. They didn't know what hit them, Selena said, leaning back in her chair. Natalie remained composed. They'll adapt, and so will we. The second stage of the games shifted to Xerac Prime, a jungle world with extreme weather and deadly wildlife. Teams were tasked with capturing and holding control points scattered across the terrain. The Zarthi deployed squads in impenetrable energy shields, while the Krithak relied on heavy artillery. Humanity, however, sent in small, agile squads equipped with adaptive gear. Selena led her team through the dense jungle, using the environment to their advantage. Stay low, stay quiet, she instructed. The jungle's on our side. Using holographic projectors, her squad created false trails, leading a Krithak unit into an ambush. Traps rigged with EMP charges disabled their artillery, leaving them defenseless. At another control point, Selena's team lured a Zarthi squad into a nest of Xerac predators, retreating just as the creatures attacked. Humanity's unorthodox tactics sent shockwaves through the council. Delegates accused the Terrans of bending the rules, but Natalie defended their actions with calm precision. We played within the parameters, she said during a council briefing. If the rules don't account for creativity, that's not our problem. Behind the scenes, tensions escalated. The Zarthi and Krithak began plotting to sabotage humanity in the final stage. As the Terran fleet prepared for the final stage, Adrian uncovered evidence of sabotage plans. They're targeting us, he said. Let them, Natalie replied, her expression steely. We've been underestimated before. We're ready. The repair and resupply operations aboard the Resolute were in full swing. Crew members moved with efficiency, patching hull breaches and restocking munitions, while engineers calibrated navigation systems for the unpredictable Void Rift stage. The tension of the upcoming final stage hung heavily over everyone. In the command center, Natalie Drake paced the room as Adrian Voss reviewed a data feed on his console. Anything unusual in the resupply manifests? She asked. Adrian glanced up, his brow furrowed. Everything checks out. No anomalies. If they're planning something, they're keeping it subtle. Or they've already planted it, Selena Cross interjected as she entered, carrying a tactical data pad. We've seen their tricks before. We should assume there's a saboteur on board. That night, the assumption proved correct. The Resolute shuddered as an explosion rocked the auxiliary power grid. Emergency lights bathed the engineering bay in red as alarms blared across the ship. Natalie and Selena rushed to the scene, where Chief Engineer Bell was barking orders at her crew. We've stabilized the primary systems, but the stealth array's fried, Bell reported. And this wasn't an accident. Adrian arrived moments later, his tablet in hand. I traced the breach. It's not external. Someone tampered with the internal systems. Find them, Natalie ordered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed her fury. Selena, double security protocols. No one touches critical systems without clearance. Adrian, scan the logs. I want to know who's responsible. Adrian spent hours combing through data logs, his fingers flying over the console as he reconstructed the chain of events leading to the sabotage. His breakthrough came in the early hours of the morning. I've got them, he announced, bursting into Natalie's quarters. Maintenance logs show unauthorized access to the stealth array by someone using a cloned ID tag, cross-referencing security footage now. Minutes later, Adrian displayed the footage to Natalie and Selena in the briefing room. The saboteur was revealed to be a Krithak operative disguised as a Terran engineer. Selena cracked her knuckles. "Let me guess. Sabotage our stealth systems, cripple our fleet in the rift, and let their buddies finish us off." "Exactly," Adrian said. "We need to move fast. If they've planted more—" Before he could finish, a second explosion rattled the ship. This time, it was in the drone control bay. Selena was already on her feet. "I'll handle this." She led a security team to the maintenance ducts, where they cornered the saboteur mid-act. The Krithak operative, a gelatinous figure encased in an exosuit, fought with desperation, but was swiftly subdued after a brief, intense skirmish. In the brig, Natalie interrogated the captured operative. "Who sent you?" she demanded. The Krithak's gelatinous form quivered. "You do not belong here. Your kind upsets the natural order." Natalie leaned closer, her voice cold and steady. "The order has already changed. Get used to it." News of the sabotage attempt spread quickly, sparking outrage among the Terran delegation. During the Council's emergency session, Natalie stood before the assembled ambassadors, her posture rigid with controlled anger. "An operative from the Krithak Empire infiltrated our fleet and sabotaged critical systems," she announced. "This is a direct violation of the game's rules." Ambassador Zarth, his crystalline form glowing faintly, spoke up. "And yet, you've provided no proof." Adrian stepped forward, projecting the footage of the captured saboteur onto a holographic display. "We have all the proof we need." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Ambassador Zix of the Fithari rippled with concern. "This is a grave matter. Sabotage undermines the integrity of the games." Zarth's glow darkened. "Or perhaps this is another of humanity's tricks. Convenient evidence to deflect suspicion from their own dishonorable tactics." Natalie met Zarth's gaze without flinching. "If dishonor means outsmarting opponents who rely on brute force and arrogance, then I'll take the title gladly." The council was divided. Some factions supported humanity's claims, while others, led by Zarth, pushed for sanctions against the Terrans. Tensions simmered, and whispers of alliances against humanity grew louder. Despite the sabotage, the Terran fleet managed to repair their systems just in time for the final stage. The Void Rift, a region of space where dark energy bent the rules of physics, loomed ahead. Its swirling, chaotic patterns of light and shadow filled the view screens. "Everything about this place screams death trap," Selena muttered as the Resolute entered the rift. "Which is why we're going to use it," Natalie replied. She turned to Adrian. "Status on the field stabilizers?" "Fully operational," he said. "They should help us navigate the anomalies, but they won't make us immune." "Good enough," Natalie said. "Let's move." As the competitors entered the rift, the chaos began almost immediately. Ships struggled to maintain formation as gravitational surges pulled them off course. Plasma bolts fired at one fleet ricocheted unpredictably, striking unintended targets. The Zarthi and Krithak fleets clashed head-on, their rivalry boiling over into a brutal firefight. Meanwhile, smaller factions attempted to navigate the rift's hazards, hoping to outlast the larger powers. Natalie's fleet, however, took a different approach. Using adaptive algorithms, Adrian programmed the Terran ships to ride the gravitational waves, making their movements erratic and difficult to predict. "Status?" Natalie asked. "We're invisible on half their sensors," Adrian reported, "and the other half think we're debris." "Perfect," Natalie said. "Deploy the drones." Cloaked drones slipped through the battlefield, planting EMP charges on key enemy vessels. As the charges detonated, ships from both the Zarthi and Krithak fleets were left vulnerable, their shields flickering and failing. At the center of the rift lay the Nexus, a massive station containing resources critical to the final stage. Control of the Nexus meant control of the games. Selena led a strike team onto the station, navigating its labyrinthine corridors while avoiding Zarthi patrols. "We've got hostiles up ahead," one of her soldiers reported. Selena nodded. "EMP charges on my mark. Stay quiet." The team moved like shadows, disabling enemy defenses with precision, At the Nexus's command center, Selena confronted the Zarthi commander, a towering figure of glowing crystal. "You think you can claim this station?" the commander sneered. Selena smirked. "No, I think I can ruin it for you." She planted a charge on the central console, detonating it as her team evacuated. The resulting explosion crippled the Nexus's systems, forcing all competitors to retreat. Back in the rift, Natalie executed her final gambit. Using holographic decoys and misdirection, the Terran fleet lured the remaining enemy forces into a gravitational anomaly. Trapped between collapsing energy fields, the Krithak and Zarthi fleets turned on each other in desperation. Adrian monitored the chaos from the Resolute. "They're tearing each other apart." "Let them," Natalie said. "Prepare for the final strike." As the surviving enemy ships regrouped, the Terran fleet emerged from the shadows, their weapons targeting critical systems. One by one, the remaining competitors fell, leaving humanity victorious. On the Council's observation deck, stunned silence filled the chamber as the final results were displayed. Humanity had won the games, against all odds. Ambassador Zix rippled with admiration. "They've done it." Zarth's crystalline form dimmed with fury. "This changes everything." The war games were over, but for humanity, the consequences of winning had just begun. While the galaxy celebrated, or in some cases fumed, over the results, the Terran fleet began their journey back to Earth. On board the Resolute, Commander Natalie Drake called a meeting with her senior officers. The holographic display in the war room showed the positions of allied and rival fleets. "Reports indicate heightened activity from both the Zarthi and Krithak factions," Adrian Voss said, pointing at the red blips clustering near a galactic trade route. "Their movements suggest they're preparing for something, but we haven't intercepted any explicit threats." Captain Selena Cross leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed. "They're too proud to accept a loss, especially one that embarrasses them this much. They're planning something, they just don't want it on record." Natalie nodded, her expression steely. "We've made enemies by proving we're a force to be reckoned with. We need to assume that retaliation is coming." She looked at Adrian. "Focus on gathering intel. Selena, increase patrol rotations and drill the crew. I want everyone ready for a fight." Back at the Galactic Council's headquarters on Oris Tau, the fallout of humanity's victory dominated every discussion. The council chambers were tense, filled with heated arguments and whispered conspiracies. Ambassador Zarth of the Zarthi Empire, still fuming over the loss, took center stage. His crystalline body glowed faintly as he addressed the assembly. "The Terrans have destabilized the games with their reckless and dishonorable tactics. If this behavior is allowed to stand, the balance of power in this galaxy will be irrevocably disrupted." Ambassador Zix of the Fithari rippled with amusement. "And yet, they played within the rules. Their strategies were unconventional, but not illegal. Perhaps it is time for the rest of us to adapt." "Their presence is a threat," hissed a Krithak ambassador, their gelatinous form shifting angrily. "They've already demonstrated that they cannot be trusted." "And yet they outsmarted both your fleets," Zix countered, their tone calm but cutting. "Perhaps the issue lies not with the Terrans, but with your inability to innovate." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Zarth slammed his crystalline appendage on the table. "This council must act. Humanity's rise cannot go unchecked." In a private observation room above the chamber, Natalie and her team watched the proceedings. Selena shook her head, her expression a mix of irritation and amusement. "They're scared. They're throwing tantrums because they lost." Adrian frowned. "Scared people make rash decisions. We need to stay ahead of them." Natalie's gaze remained fixed on the council floor. "Let them talk. While they argue, we prepare." Amid the political chaos, humanity found an unexpected ally in the Fithari. Ambassador Zix requested a private meeting with Natalie aboard their flagship, the Glysaria. The Fithari ship was a marvel of organic technology, its walls pulsing faintly with bioluminescent light. "We admire your ingenuity," Zix said, their form shimmering with faint hues of respect. "You've shown the galaxy that tradition is not the only path to victory." Natalie inclined her head. And in doing so, we've made enemies. I assume your request for this meeting wasn't purely to congratulate us." Zix rippled. "Indeed. The Zarthi and Krithak are mobilizing. We believe they intend to strike before your position solidifies." Selena, standing at Natalie's side, raised an eyebrow. "And what's your angle in all this? Why help us?" Zix's colors shifted. "Because a galaxy where the Zarthi and Krithak dominate is one where progress stagnates. Humanity represents a disruption that we believe is necessary." Natalie considered this. "An alliance, then?" "A cautious one," Zix replied. "We will share intelligence and provide limited support, but openly aligning with you would jeopardize our position." "It's a start," Natalie said, "and we'll take it." As the Terran fleet neared a remote trade route, alarms blared aboard the Resolute. Adrian's voice came over the comms, tense but steady. "Commander, multiple enemy signatures detected. It's the Zarthi and Krithak fleets." Natalie rushed to the bridge. The tactical display showed dozens of red blips converging on their position. "They've been waiting for us," she said grimly. "All ships, prepare for battle." The Zarthi fleet opened fire first, their plasma cannons lighting up the void. The Terran fleet maneuvered defensively, their adaptive armor absorbing the initial barrage. "Deploy decoys," Natalie ordered. "Selena, take your team and hit their flagship. Adrian, find me a weakness in their formation." As chaos erupted, Selena led a strike team aboard the Zarthi flagship. The corridors were sleek and crystalline, but the Terrans moved with precision, disabling defenses and planting charges. Meanwhile, aboard the Resolute, Adrian pinpointed a critical vulnerability in the Krithak fleet. "Their command ship is over-reliant on centralized control. If we take it out, the rest of their fleet will falter." Natalie didn't hesitate. "Focus all firepower on that ship." The combined efforts of the Terran fleet and Selena's strike team turned the tide. The Zarthi flagship was crippled, and the Krithak command ship exploded in a cascade of gelatinous fragments. The remaining enemy forces retreated in disarray. The battle was won, but the cost was heavy. Several Terran ships were severely damaged, and casualties weighed on the crew. In the medbay, Selena visited injured soldiers, offering words of encouragement despite her own exhaustion. On the bridge, Natalie stared out at the wreckage drifting in space. Adrian approached, his expression somber. "We proved we can fight, but they'll keep coming. This isn't over." "It never is," Natalie said softly. "But today, we reminded them why humanity survives. That's enough for now." Back on Earth, Natalie addressed the Galactic Council via secure transmission. Her voice was steady, her words calculated. "The war games were meant to test innovation and resilience. Humanity has shown we possess both. We do not seek conflict, but we will not shy away from it. If you believe our methods disrupt the balance, then perhaps it is the balance that needs to change." The message sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Some factions applauded humanity's boldness, while others retreated into isolation, plotting their next move. Months later, the Galactic Council reconvened to officially recognize humanity as a major power. Natalie, Selena, and Adrian represented Earth at the ceremony, standing alongside their allies. As applause filled the chamber, Zix leaned toward Natalie. "You've changed the game." Natalie smiled faintly. "And we're just getting started." Aboard the Resolute, the crew celebrated their achievements, but the mood was tempered by the challenges ahead. In the observation lounge, Natalie joined Selena and Adrian, a rare smile gracing her features. "This was just the first step," she said. "The galaxy's watching us now." Selena raised a glass. "Then let's give them a show." Adrian chuckled. "And maybe some nightmares." As the stars stretched out before them, humanity prepared to face a galaxy forever changed by their presence.